presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Arizona.
It's a throwback Thursday at Chase Field. The roof is open, purple in place. This homestand continues. Following last night's win over Detroit, no National League team has been better at home than the D-backs. And tonight the Pittsburgh Pirates arrive. They've lost 4 in a row. It's Throwback Thursday on Fox Sports Arizona. Good evening from Chase Field and welcome to the broadcast. Steve Berthiaume and Bob Brenly along the way. First of 4 here, D-backs and the Pirates. And what a pitching matchup we have in store for you here tonight. Zack Greinke and Gerrit Cole, 2 true number ones, Bob, 2 of the best in the National League.
Yeah, this hopefully will be one of the best pitching matchups we see all season. Both guys coming off tremendous outing. In Zack Greinke's case against the Colorado Rockies, when he was as dominant as we've seen him all season long. You see his numbers on the season. Against the Rockies, 7 innings, 6 hits, gave up 2 runs, 1 on a solo home run to Mark Reynolds.
What are they in for tonight with this big right-hander, Gerrit Cole?
He's a handful. This guy's got a couple different fastballs he'll throw in the mid to upper 90s. He has good knuckle curveball, a slider, a changeup. He is a heck of a competitor, and he too coming off an outstanding start against the Brewers when he went 7 innings, gave up only 2 hits in that game.
Yeah, throw out that 1-3 record. He has received no run support. The Pirates come in here last in the National League Central. This should be fun. Greinke and Cole, D-backs and Pirates. First pitch coming up on Fox Sports Arizona. Arizona Diamondbacks baseball on Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you by Gila River Casinos. Experience winning like you've never imagined at the Gila River Casino, Lone Butte, Bequiva, and Wild Horse Pass. By Chaz Roberts Air Conditioning and Plumbing. Choose Chaz. By Oregano's. Step up to the plate for a guaranteed home run at Oregano's, your neighborhood pizza joint. Location statewide. And by CenturyLink, connecting you to the power of the digital world. Arizona Diamondbacks baseball on Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you by your Valley Honda dealers, where you get more standard features for less money. By Jack in the Box and the Jumbo Jack, a home run for your mouth. By Gigablast Internet from Cox. Welcome to the gig life. And by State Farm. State Farm is here to help life go right. Talk to an agent today or call 1-800-STATE-FARM.
Back home in Arizona, the roof is open at Chase Field. The Throwback Thursday uniforms are on, and Zack Greinke is set to go. It's the D-backs and the Pittsburgh Pirates. First pitch is next on Fox Sports Arizona. Another spectacular day to be at the ballpark. 89 degrees, very comfortable here at Chase Field. The roof is open, and we're set to go. The Diamondbacks and the Pirates. Pittsburgh comes in reeling. They've lost 4 in a row, just swept at Dodger Stadium. 6 under 500, 5.5 back of the Cardinals for the NL Central lead. And here is your Pirates lineup, brought to you by your Valley Chevy dealers.
Josh Harrison leading it off, playing third base today. The only regular for the Pirates that's really carrying the load offensively, hitting .299. Nobody else in the lineup hitting over .250. Francisco Cervelli, the catcher, batting second. Andrew McCutchen out in center field, batting third. Gregory Polanco in right field. John Jaso at first base. Jose Osuna at left field. Jordy Mercer at shortstop. Gift and Gope at second base, and Garrett Cole, the right-hander, on the mound.
And on the mound for the Diamondbacks, your Ram truck starter is the right-hander Zack Greinke. 3-2 in 7 starts, a 3.09 ERA. He was outstanding his previous time out, a win at Coors Field last Friday, and Bob, his slider may have been as good that night as we've ever seen it.
I think everything was good for Zack in that ball game. He was commanding his fastball, which is no surprise, but yeah, used his slider a lot more, changed speeds on his slider, had the great changeup in his back pocket whenever he needed it.
Let's take a look at the Diamondbacks defensively, brought to you by Nationwide Vision Centers.
Going to be Descalso in left, Pollock in center, Peralta in right field tonight, Lamb and Owings on the left side of the infield, Drury and Goldschmidt on the right side, with Jeff Mathis doing the catching for right-hander Zack Greinke.
Tom Woodring has the balls and strikes tonight. He'll be our plate umpire. Ed Hickox is at first base, Chris Conroy at second, and the crew chief Jerry Niels is at third. Diamondbacks continuing this homestand, first of 4 against the Pirates, 13-6 at Chase Field, tied with the Dodgers for the National League's best home record.
Third baseman, number 5.
I mean, this is where it all starts for Zack Greinke. first batter of an inning this season. He's retired 80% of the time. The league average is 68%.
Well, as you mentioned, Harrison, one of the few that's really had it going lately in this Pirate lineup. A good start to the year, 299 and 5 home runs. Had a 3-hit game last night in their loss in LA. Ball 1. Harrison several years ago was the ultimate utility man, played 5 different spots for Clint Hurdle. But this year he's seen most of his time at either third base or second base, very occasionally some left field. In there at third tonight, they've had some injuries. David Freese is out. There's a strike from Greinke. It's 2-1. There's Clint Hurdle. His team has really had a lot of setbacks this year. Starling Marte's PED suspension. They've had some injuries. McCutchen's not played well. That one just missed the slider from Greinke, and it's 3-1. Zack 2-0 in his last 3 starts, wins over the Padres and the Rockies. Over that span, 27 strikeouts and only 2 walks. There's a Tapper foul. Full count, 3-2. Time now, BB, for your Valley Honda dealers. Key to the game.
Well, let's make it back-to-back Zack. Zack Godley was outstanding in the ball game yesterday against the Detroit Tigers, and hopefully Zack Greinke will follow suit tonight with another gem.
Boy, Godley tremendous last night. 1 run, 4 hits in 7. Just looked terrific. Harrison skies this one just behind second base. Drury drifting out there. 1 away. Here's the catcher, Francisco Cervelli.
Catcher, number 29.
A very slow start to the year. He's really picked up the pace lately. 250 and 3 home runs. Homered last night in their loss at Dodger Stadium. Out of play. Cervelli hitting over 400 this month. He's beginning this series with a 6-game hitting streak. His numbers over the 6-game streak after he barely hit 200 for the month of April. Bothered by a nagging right foot problem that started in spring training and really lingered into the 2nd month of the year. Greinke with a fastball jumps ahead 0-2. Here you can see he's got a protector on that front foot. That's the left foot. The problem's been the back foot, the right foot.
We need shoelaces.
It's all coordinated. Oh, able to lay off that big curveball, and it's 1-2.
Big over the top curveball. Cervelli got way out on the front foot that time. Had no choice but to take that pitch.
Greinke, as we've seen lately, will work at his own pace, and it's fairly methodical out there. You can almost see him thinking, analyzing what he's seeing from the swings of the opposing hitters, but he does not work quickly. Went back to the fastball. Cervelli stays alive. It's 1-2.
He works at his pace. You know, some pitchers, when they're throwing the ball well, they like to get it, get right back on the rubber, throw the next pitch, you know, rapid fire. Other guys like to slow things down a little bit and be in control of the pace of the game.
There's Mike Butcher, the pitching coach, had a birthday yesterday. Got a great present from Zack Godley.
Yes, he did.
There's the strikeout. That's the slider we've talked about. 2 down in the 1st.
is. Good tight rotation, a lot of downward movement. That's the real key to that slider for Zack Greinke. For a lot of pitchers, is to get that downward movement and get the swing over the top of the baseball.
The struggling Andrew McCutchen, 215, 5 homers. These are not numbers you normally see from Andrew McCutchen, but he has been in somewhat of a sharp decline. 5 for 41 as he steps in here. And he jumps on a fastball, and here comes David Peralta. A terrific catch in right field. Peralta takes a base hit away from McCutchen. We'll head to the bottom of the first. Diamondbacks coming up against Gerrit Cole. For the Pirates, Gerrit Cole, the prototypical power right-hander, now 26. The Pirates made him the first overall pick in the 2011 draft out of UCLA. This year, a solid 3.14 ERA, but just not getting any run support.
Had one bad outing so far this season. His opener against the Boston Red Sox went 5 innings, gave up 7 hits and 5 earned runs in that game. Otherwise, he has been outstanding for the Pirates.
Winless in his last 4 starts. Let's take a look at the lineup for the D-backs, brought to you by your Valley Chevy dealers.
A.J. Pollock leading it off in center field. David Peralta with a great diving catch out in right field to end the top half of the first. Paul Goldschmidt at first, Jake Lamb at third, Chris Owings at shortstop, Brandon Drury over at second base, Daniel Descalso in left field today with Jeff Mathis doing the catching for Zack Greinke.
A.J. leads it off against Gerrit Cole. You'll see a lot of hard fastballs from Cole. He lives in the upper 90s. Ball 1 to Pollock at 3:04 and 2 homers. He had a big 2-run, 2-out single last night in the 6th inning that was likely the biggest hit of the ball game, and that D-backs went over the Tigers. That hit that it seemed like they'd waited for almost a week. Took a 2-1 lead, made it 4-1, and they were off and running from there.
Yeah, I don't think there's any argument that was the biggest hit of the game, but maybe the biggest at bat of the game was right before when Zach Godley drew a base on balls to set it up for A.J.
Swings it to 2-0, drives it to center, but right at Mccutchen. 1 away. Our eye on defense for the Buccos, brought to you by Nationwide Vision Center.
Osuna in left, McCutchen in center, Polanco over in right field. It'll be Harrison and Mercer on the left side of the infield with Ngope and Jaso on the right side. Francisco Cervelli doing the catching for right-hander Gerrit Cole.
Well, here is David Peralta, made that terrific diving catch to win the top of the first. David at 283 and 3 home runs. Trying to get the bat going, that flu bug that knocked him down on the last road trip. And it sort of stalled his offensive progress. And he looks at a fastball for strike 1. Peralta 0 for 5 Tuesday night against the Tigers. He sat out last night's ball game. This one is hit well, deep center field. McCutchen at the wall, and That's off the wall. Here goes the freight train. Oh, he puts on the brakes at second. He was high gear coming around the bag and changed his mind. A double for Peralta, his 7th of the year. He hit that second base bag at close to full speed.
Yes, he did. He was thinking 3 all the way. Ball barreled up to straightaway center field, chases Mccutchen all the way back to the fence. You get a look at the freight train right about there. Better hold on.
Emergency stop.
Yeah, Pollock got to that ball from his right field spot to back up Mccutchen. Pollock has a big arm out there in right field, so I think David did the right thing.
He's at second with 1 out for Paul Goldschmidt. Fastball in there, and so in 1. Goldie 317 and 7 homers. He walked 3 times last night. He's leading the major leagues now in bases on balls. Big part of that OPS is the on base percentage, 461, second in baseball behind only Bryce Harper. Fastball away, missed. It's 1-1. Goldie has hit safely in every game but 1 this month. Chance right here to give the D-backs the early lead. Squib shot to first. John Jaso takes it himself. Peralta in at third down, 2 down. So it's up to Jake Lamb to get the freight train home from third. And Lamb is really fighting it right now. He's down to 248, 7 homers. 0 for 5 last night in the win over the Tigers. Jake has struck out in 10 of his last 14 at bats. And they put more of a shade on than a shift for Lamb. Jaso at first, almost right on the line, and Gope at second back on the outfield grass, and Mercer the shortstop near the second base bag. First pitch curveball to Lamb. It's 1-0. Interesting start from Garrett Cole. Curveball changeup. First 2 pitches to Jake. It's 1-1.
It's not unusual to see Cole go to his off-speed stuff second and third time through the order on that first delivery, but kind of unusual early in the game. But there is a runner at third base, so that changes everything.
Out to left field. Osuna's there, and they strand Peralta. No score after 1.
BBTV and we go down on the farm with the Arizona Milk Producers.
I hope this is the last time I talk to you guys, but it's been fun. And sorry. I can't talk anymore, guys.
Tough interview to conduct there, as Daniel Hudson's so emotional in his final interview as a Diamondback. And then the Diamondbacks here tonight paying tribute to Daniel during the break, and 6 seasons here with this team. A terrific guy, terrific teammate. There he is in the Pirates bullpen. And I visited with him earlier today. Of course, it was weird being in the visiting clubhouse, but he said he watches the Diamondbacks and what they do every night when his game is over. He checks the score, checks the box score. He can't help but be extremely interested in what his former team is doing, guys.
Well, Jody, he's certainly got a lot of fans here, and 2 of them sitting right in this booth.
Yep, absolutely. You want to talk about a stand-up guy, regardless of whether he struck out the side or gave up 3 home runs. He would stand there every night and take the heat when a lot of his teammates were hiding in the training room.
And he's had a couple of rough moments lately in the Pirate bullpen, but it was tough to see him go, and maybe one day he'll be back. Gregory Polanco, the cleanup man, leads off the second against Zack Greinke. Polanco still without a home run after belting 22 last year. There is Bruce, wax on, winds off. Our Golden Glover down the right field line, and Bruce, he recovered nicely.
He's a much better fielder close and late. Early in the game, sometimes he's not quite ready.
I think Bruce may have just overran that ball by about a half a step. Sam No Neck Noriega working the left field line tonight. One more time. Here we go. Bruce winds off. Come on, Bruce. Just wait till it stops.
Yeah, there you go. Barehanded play. See?
That's how you catch the knuckleball, right? That's what Bob Uecker said.
Just wait till it stops rolling and pick it up.
1-2 on Polanco. This is the guy who always gives the Diamondbacks a rough time, Gregory Polanco. Able to check his swing on the curveball. "19 career games against the Diamondbacks for Gregory Polanco. And in those games, he's hitting nearly .350. 12 extra base hits, 14 runs batted in. Jeff Mathis behind the plate tonight. Hit hard one more time. He's going to wear out poor Bruce Weinsoff down there. This guy has always, Bob, been a tough out against the D-backs.
Yeah, you see the career numbers against the D-backs in 19 games. He's even been good here at Chase Field. .341 hitter in 10 games here at Chase.
But like most of these Pirates, just has not been the same offensive player this year. They have really struggled to score runs. Oh, Tom Woodring says no on that Greinke fastball. It's a full count, 3-2.
I'm always willing to give that home plate umpire an inning or 2 to settle in, but he's going to have to settle in fast. That one just below the zone. I'll give it to him.
Eighth pitch of the at-bat right here. Again, it's foul. Right behind Kiermaier Barty, the first base coach. There's Bruce. Bruce has recovered nicely.
Hey fans, we invite you to participate in Gila River game nights by signing up at one of the interactive kiosks located right here at Chase Field during any D-backs home game.
And as Bruce wax on, winds off. Our Golden Glover in right field tonight. Three-two pitch. That's again a foul ball. Gregory Polanco is lanky. He's a big guy, 6'5". They've tried to get him to shorten up a bit, but he's got long legs, long arms, and a long swing. Really putting up a fight here against Greinke. Zack had a 12-pitch 1-2-3 first inning. This is his 10th pitch in this at bat to Polanco. Guess what? A foul ball.
I'm a little surprised at the location selection here on Polanco. I always thought he was a good low ball hitter, and a lot of pitches down and middle in right there, and he's pulled them all foul. 7 foul balls in this at bat already for Polanco.
See what Mathis puts down here. The old number 1. Down and away. Look at that. Zack Greinke in his gold glove. 1 down.
Well, you mentioned Zack, a very cerebral pitcher. After all those pitches inside and down, when you go away, you better be ready to field the ball coming back at you. We saw Polanco pull pitch after pitch, foul down that first baseline. Finally, Zack tried to go away from him, and that time it came right back to the mound. Zack is always ready to make the play.
First baseman tonight, John Jaso, 154. He's homered twice. And a home run Tuesday in LA. The Pirates lost to the Dodgers. With that very unusual open stance, Diamondbacks have the shift on. 0-1 on Jaso.
Yeah, this is a guy that really does need a choreographer more than a hitting coach.
And a barber.
Look at that.
Banks it foul, and it's 0-2. Jaso playing almost exclusively against right-hand pitching this year. Josh Bell, their promising young switch hitting first baseman, on the bench tonight. Lays off that Greinke changeup, and it's 1-2. Jaso's a guy who goes up there, works the count. He's always been a high on base percentage guy. That's really been his calling card. Not a ton of power, but he takes his walks. For a long time last year, he was hitting leadoff for Clint Hurdle. Went back to the changeup, but missed, and it's 2-2.
Yeah, a lot of times when a guy has as many moving parts as Jaso does, a lot of things to get back into a hitting position, they become susceptible to that changeup because they got to get everything started and get moving, and you always anticipate a fastball if you're a hitter.
Oh, wow, that's in the Pirate dugout. That was coming in hot. Francisco Cervelli, look out. Ray Searage. Greinke strikes him out. 2 strikeouts for Zack. He's set down all 5 he's faced. Hey, D-backs fans, if you can't catch the games on TV, then stream them live on your mobile device with Fox Sports Go. It's presented by your Valley Honda dealers. Download the app and take Fox Sports Arizona and your D-backs with you wherever you go. Just like Jake Lamb and David Peralta. Jose Osuna, the left fielder. 231 and 1 home run. The outfield has looked dramatically different than what the Pirates thought it would look like in spring training. There was all that hubbub about moving Andrew Mccutchen from center field to right field. And Starling Marte from left to center, but Marte is on an 80-game PED suspension. And they've had some injuries out there as well, so they've been running different guys out there into left field all season long. Tonight it's Jose Osuna, 3 for 27 at the plate this month, and he's down 0-2. When they left camp, they only had 3 outfielders on the roster.
And they're missing a key piece from past teams. Sean Rodriguez was a guy that could play, especially all across the infield, but he was another guy that you could stick him out there on the corner outfield spot if necessary. Super utility type player.
They've had Jaso playing out there some this year. Called strike 3. Greinke set down all 6 he's faced. He's got 3 strikeouts. No score here at Chase. Our showstopper, Kevin Kiermaier, the Rays center fielder, has been the best defensive player in baseball. And he overruns that one off the bat of the Royals with Merrifield, and Merrifield will run all the way around. Now Monday, Kiermaier did the same thing on a ball hit by Kansas City's Lorenzo Cain. Today, it was Whit Merrifield, the best defensive player in the game.
Hit it to center field. Just didn't get the glove down to the spot. Oh, and that's a helpless feeling because you know those corner outfielders have to run a mile to get to that ball.
Chris Owings leads off the D-back second against Garrett Cole. Yes, he checked his swing, says Ed Hickox, and it's 1-0 on CO. 3-11 and 5 homers. He's had a pair of hits in each of his last 2 games. I blame that on the trop.
Yeah. Bad turf, bad lights,
bad catwalks,
bad stadium,
bad place for a stadium. Owings drives it deep left center field. That's off the wall. CO pulls into second with his 6th double, second D-back double tonight against Garrett Cole.
Tailing fastball right in the middle of the plate. CO barrels up another one. This one bangs off the wall out there in left center field. Looked like it had a chance to get out of here off the bat, but CO at second base with nobody out.
Well, in the first inning, Peralta hit a 1-out double high off the wall. Now Owings leads off the second with a double. They couldn't get Peralta home. Try and get CO home with the game's first run. Here's the red-hot Brandon Drury, 3-12 and 2 homers. He homered here last night. Brandon really starting to barrel the ball up with that right center field approach. Drury last night homered, doubled in the win over the Tigers. Here's the home run.
Really waited well on an off-speed delivery that stayed up in the zone. Just does sneak it up there in the front row.
Caught by a Yankee fan out there. Brandon's last 5 hits have been extra base hits. Four doubles and a home run.
Sorry. Just wanted to let the fans know that a home run today means a free jumbo jack tomorrow at participating Jack in the Box locations with the purchase of a large drink. That's how hot Brandon Drury has been. We had to get that read in right now.
Before he hits the home run, sure. Owings takes off for third, and Drury knocks it into center. 1-0 Diamondbacks. Stay hot, Brandon Drury.
Another one of those tailing fastballs coming right back to the middle of the plate, and Brandon just sends it right back where it came from. Chris Owings on the move with the pitch will easily round third and score the first run of the ball game.
Red hot. That's Brandon Drury. That bat has really come around. Daniel Descalso getting the start in left field tonight for Yasmani Tomas. First pitch breaking ball missed. Descalso 167, 2 homers. Flied out as a pinch hitter in last night's ball game. Torey Lovullo said before the game tonight he wanted to give Daniel a chance to play. He hasn't played in several days, and Yasmani's been swinging the bat pretty well lately, but tonight just about somebody on the bench getting a chance to play and help the D-backs win a ball game. Gets the left-hand bat in there against Garrett Cole. One and one.
We talked about Garrett Cole and what a role he's been on since his first start of the season. In his last 4 starts, opposing hitters were 1 for 13 with runners in scoring position.
In those 4 starts, Pittsburgh has scored a total of 6 runs. 4 while he's been in the game. 6 total. Their offense has really dried up.
He had 2 starts earlier this season against the Cardinals and the Cubs back to back. Pitched a total of 13 innings in those 2 games, gave up 8 hits, 2 earned runs, struck out 16, walked 2, and lost both games. 2-1 and 1-0.
7 innings of 2-hit ball against Milwaukee last Saturday. Came away with a no decision. 2-2 on Descalso. There's that Garrett Cole changeup, and that has been a real difference maker for him this year. He is throwing that changeup more than twice as often as he did last season. Here's a look.
You see that claw-like grip, holding it with his ring finger and middle finger of his right hand.
When you can average 96 with a fastball like he does, a changeup's a game changer. And he's really developed a good one. That's a foul ball.
Yeah, we talked about the run support for Garrett Cole. Only Ian Kennedy of the Kansas City Royals has received lower run support than Garrett Cole.
Yeah, the Royals, like the Pirates, languishing in last place in their Central Division. That's a bit of a mystery. Kansas City's pitching hasn't been there this year. 2-2 to Descalso. Takes that one. Fastball just missed at 96. Full count, 3-2. Jeff Mathis, the catcher, on deck. Cole is still about 60% fastballs, both 4-seam and 2-seam, but now he's not just blowing away guys with velocity like he has in the past. He's mixing in sliders and curveballs, but the biggest difference has been that changeup.
Yeah. It's not uncommon, partner, for a guy to come up through the minor leagues like Garrett Cole did, just blowing people away. Archie Bradley, another guy that just blew people away with fastballs and snap dragon curves. But you get to the major league level and people tell you need a third pitch, you need something off speed to get the lefties off your fastball, and the changeup is the pitch that figures to be that pitch for Garrett Cole moving forward.
Went to that hard fastball at 98, missed upstairs in the first 3. D-backs have reached in the second.
That changeup is, what they like to call a feel pitch. Some guys take to it right away. Other guys, it takes a while to feel comfortable with it, to get the grip right, to get the release point right, and it appears that Garrett Cole's starting to figure it out.
Yeah, throwing it twice as often as he did last year. Cervelli out to the mound. A chance for Jeff Mathis. Jeff started Tuesday's game against the Tigers, was 0 for 3. Brandon Drury at second base, Daniel Descalso at first. A run is in on the Drury RBI single. Torey Lovullo said before tonight's game the relatively minimal production from the catching position the D-backs have had so far this year is really of minimal concern for him. He's not worried about it, mostly because the starting pitchers have done so well. This was part of the plan. Harrison at third. They get one with Ngope and they turn it. Drury in at third, 2 outs.
Pitcher number 21.
Well, here comes Zack Greinke, a chance to get Drury home from third with 2 down. First pitch fastball is strike 1. Beautiful night here at the ballpark. Roof is open, outfield panels are closed, and the Throwback Thursday unis are on. 0-2. There's the Garrett Cole slider.
Garrett Cole's one of those guys for the last couple of years people have been predicting when he has one of those nights when everything is working, he's going to throw a no-hitter.
Seems like it.
Got a fastball that he can overpower you with when his breaking ball is good and he's throwing it for strikes. That's a very tough pitch to make contact with. And you mentioned that improving changeup. If he ever has a game when it's all working, look out.
The first overall pick in the draft 6 years ago out of UCLA. Two and two to Zack Greinke. AJ Pollock would be next. Cole's been going deep into games. 2 earned runs or fewer in each of his last 5 starts. He's gone at least 6 innings every time out. There's a foul ball. Hey fans, tomorrow this Diamondbacks baseball telecast will be brought to you in Spanish on Fox Sports Arizona Plus. D-backs and Pirates at 6:30, presented by your Valley Honda dealers, and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. To find the Plus channel listings and the 25-game Spanish schedule, visit foxsportsarizona.com.
Porque el año pasado ya lo hicieron.
Sí, el año pasado también estuvimos por Fox Arizona Plus.
That was Rodrigo saying Fox Sports Arizona Plus. Josh Harrison at third. And they strand Drury, but the Diamondbacks score first. They lead it 1-0.
Time to take a look at this day in baseball history, brought to you by Geico. This goes back to 1999. Jay Bell with a walk-off homer against the Montreal Expos. The following day, Luis Gonzalez with a walk-off home run against the Expos. And not to be left out, Matt Williams, 3 days in a row, walk-off home runs to win the ball games.
Au revoir, les Expos.
Shortstop, number 10, Jordy Mercer.
1-0. Diamondbacks lead the Pirates here in the third. Jordy Mercer, the shortstop, will lead it off against Zack Greinke.
That's what your middle of the lineup is supposed to do. Those were the 3, 4, 5 hitters in the lineup that year.
Wow. So far for Greinke, 6 up, 6 down. He's got 3 strikeouts. And now a 1-0 lead. Slow curveball missed up there, and it's 1-0. Mercer 209 and 2 homers. Another Pirate is just not hitting this year. There's the Greinke slider, and it's 1-1. Fastball location 1-2. We've seen Zack and some of the opposing hitters have mentioned that, like that last pitch there, he's just painting the corners with his fastball location. Keeps him off balance, sneaks a fastball high or throws a slider just off the plate. And when he's pitching like he is right now, it's just hard to do anything with those pitches.
We talk all the time about the difference between throwing strikes and throwing quality strikes. Zack throws pitcher strikes. He rarely makes mistakes in the heart of the plate. That's why he doesn't get hit very hard. A lot of soft contact.
Missed with a fastball. Full count 3-2. Already the third 3-2 count of the ball game. Gift Ngope, the first ever African player in Major League history, is on deck, the second baseman. Walked him. Zack wanted that one, didn't get the call from Tom Woodring. The slider just missed.
I'm not sure if he's more upset about the call or the fact that Jordy Mercer didn't swing at that pitch. That's a perfect slider right there. Started on the outside corner, just dipped off the plate low and away. Most hitters are going to chase that with 2 strikes.
Here is Gift Ngope, the first Major League player ever from the African continent. Signed out of South Africa by the Pirates in 2008. Spent 8 seasons in the minor leagues. And now he's a big leaguer. Getting to know ARP. AARP. From a suburb just north of South Africa. Province up there. And Ngope's mother worked as a cook and a housekeeper. Now, she passed away a few years ago. And Ngope admitted to fighting back tears when he finally got that first big league hit. It was his first game against the Cubs in Pittsburgh last month. And he says he can still hear her voice every single day on his journey to the major leagues. His mom, his late mom Maureen, was raising her family in South Africa. She found a job cooking and cleaning for players on an amateur baseball club in the area. They were the Randburg Mets. And the entire family lived in a small room near the clubhouse. And that's how Ngope was introduced to baseball. Mercer takes off. Mathis's throw is high. And he's in there. Jordy Mercer, his first stolen base this year.
Reached down to catch that off-speed delivery, and then his throw is high down to second base. Brandon Drury tries to get that tag down as quickly as possible.
Torey Lovullo wants to challenge. He'll go to the headsets. Alan Campbell, the Diamondbacks' outstanding video coordinator, has seen something, so Torey will give this a go.
You mentioned the high throw and the quick tag as Drury brings it straight down and just tags the closest body part. Looked like he got him high on that right leg. The question is, was the foot on the base when he tagged him?
Video replay review. The call on the field is that the runner is safe at second base.
Out. I'm calling him out.
You can see definitively when the glove hit the leg for me there.
I look at every replay with biased eyes.
Not you.
He's out by a mile.
And you are right, Bob Brenly. Hey, good call. Mercer caught stealing, erased the leadoff walk.
The call has been overturned.
That was a nice play by Brandon Drury to go up the ladder to get that high throw and just tag the closest body part. Just does get it down on that right calf before the foot hits the bag.
Successful challenge there for the skipper. 1-1 count on Gift Ngope, the second baseman. Mentioned that he and his family lived in the clubhouse of that amateur baseball team in South Africa. Said he rolled out of bed every day and was on first base. Couldn't ask for a better playground. Gave up cricket, took up baseball. Now here he is in the big leagues. Funny, the team, that Randburg Mets team that they were living with, recognized that, hey, this is a young man that can play the game. He's pretty good. So they all chipped in and they sent him to an MLB academy in Italy. The Pirates saw him there and they signed him for $15,000. Greinke strikes him out. 4th strikeout for Zack. 2 down in the 3rd.
The Pirates actually signed his younger brother to a contract.
Yeah, Maureen, his late mother, had several sons, and they all grew up playing baseball together. Garrett Cole.
Brother Victor.
Gift is a nickname. I was talking with Joe Block, the Pirates' outstanding TV play-by-play guy, and he said, oh, both his first and last names are literally unpronounceable. In fact, he's told Joe, look, Ngope is not correct technically, but just go with that. I'm fine.
That's good.
So they sort of settled on Gift Ngope. 0-2 on a Pirate pitcher.
You know, partner, we throw a lot of numbers out over the course of a telecast because that's what this game is all about. How about Alan Campbell? 6 out of 9 this year in challenges.
Stay hot, AC.
Stay hot.
He's been really good at that for several years now, ever since replay was introduced. Greinke's not bad either. He's got 5 strikeouts and a 1-0 lead.
Be the top of the order here in the bottom half of the 3rd inning. D-backs lead the Pirates 1-0. Hey fans, anytime the D-backs score 5 runs or more, Taco Bell is giving away 3 free tacos with the purchase of a large drink between 4 and 6 the following day at participating locations.
Anytime you talk baseball with Brandon Drury, he has that look on his face. He's very intense about it. AJ a lead off the bottom of the 3rd against right-hander Garrett Cole. Diamondbacks lead at 1-0. Chris Owings a double in the 2nd. Drury the RBI single. The game's only run so far. Zack Greinke 3 scoreless. He's walked 1, struck out 5. Cole, for a guy, Bob, that's been pitching exceptionally well lately, it seems like he's thrown a couple of flat, poorly located fastballs in there tonight.
Yeah, a lot of middle of the plate tailing fastballs. We've seen him start on the outside corner and tail right back to the heart of the plate.
AJ lined out hard to center his first time up. Slider's in there for a strike. 0-1. AJ's had 2 hits in each of his last 2 games. You see what the Rockies are doing to the Dodgers at Coors Field?
I do now.
10-1 in the 5th. Giants are home. They're hosting Cincinnati. San Fran leads that 1-0 in the second inning. There's that Colorado score.
That was Ryu against Tyler Anderson in that game.
Harrison at third on the short hop. Time for the unlimited baseball break, brought to you by T-Mobile. More bad Mets news. Boy, this season has been a disaster for them. Their closer, Darius Familia, has a blood clot in his right shoulder and might need surgery. Trevor Story on the DL with a bad left shoulder. And Jason Vargas, 7 scoreless innings for the Royals in that win over the Rays. We showed you the Kevin Kiermaier misplay earlier. Here's David Peralta, who doubled his first time up. It's 0-1. David really needed that double in his first at bat. He's been scuffling lately. 3 for his last 28 coming into tonight. Fastball, swing and a miss, and it's 2-2. The big right-hander Garrett Cole, 6'4", 225. There's another big guy on deck. Peralta squirts one down the left field line. Here goes the train again, digging for second. And he's in there. His second double tonight, his 8th of the year.
Well, we saw David do this a lot in the early going this season. Take pitches away from him and slap him through that shift. Nobody home on the left side. All the way down into the left field corner for his second double of the ball game. The train is on the track tonight.
Third double in less than 3 innings for the Diamondbacks. And here's Goldie. Goldie grounded out to first his first time up. That's fouled back. Paul Goldschmidt just crushing right-hand pitching this year. He's hitting a tick under 350 versus righties, including 6 of his 7 homers. Cervelli wants a word with Cole. This has been an interesting dynamic with the pitcher and the catcher here for Pittsburgh. And it's kind of been an ongoing narrative with the Pirates. As Garrett Cole for the last several seasons had developed a very successful personal catcher relationship with the backup Chris Stewart. But Clint Hurdle has tried hard to get Cole away from that. Stewart is still the backup catcher, but more and more it's been Cervelli back there when Cole was on the mound. That's going to get in the seats. 2 years ago, Stewart caught 20 of Cole's 32 starts, including 16 in a row. I mean, they were a thing. They were a hot item. But the Pirates more and more trying to wean Cole away from that and putting Cervelli back there. Despite the fact that historically Cole's ERA when Stewart is back there is much better than when Cervelli's back there. So there is data that backs it up. 1-2.
Well, we know that a major attribute for any catcher is the ability to work those umpires, be part politician back there, plead the case for your pitcher to get those borderline pitches in. Francisco Cervelli can filibuster back there behind the plate.
Clint Hurdle loves that about him. Jason knocks it down. Peralta will stop at third. Goldie's aboard.
Bit of an inside out swing. Ball hits off the heel of Jaso's glove. And any mishandling at all, Goldie's going to be safe at first base. Don't even risk a throw.
Chance for Jake Lamb. First and third, one out. Fifth hit of the ball game for the Diamondbacks. Jake flied out to left his first time up. First pitch changeup. This is the way Cole started off Lamb in the first at bat. They went curveball changeup. He's not seeing any fastballs early in the count. Jake is a very aggressive hitter when he gets a fastball first or second pitch, and he hasn't seen one so far tonight.
Here comes one right here. Off the plate inside.
That's been the scouting report on Jake Lamb. Any first pitch fastball is going to get hit. And they've clearly stayed away from that. Cole behind 2-0. Peralta at third, Golding at first. That's out of play. You can see the axe handle bat there that Jake's got going. A little easier on the bottom hand. The bottom of that bat is shaped like the bottom of an axe instead of that round circular knob you're used to seeing. More and more players are favoring that. David Peralta, following his wrist surgery, went to the axe handle bat. Two balls and one strike to Jake Lamb. Here it is. They'll keep a check on Goldie over there. 9 for 10 in his stolen base attempts this season.
You know, things might have been a lot different if Jake Lamb chose to sign when he was drafted back in '09 by the Pirates.
Out of high school.
Yeah, 38th round pick.
Decided to go to the University of Washington and play his college ball for the Huskies instead. And now he's back here tonight wearing purple for the Diamondbacks. Another breaking ball from Cole, and it's 2-2. I see you've got a little axe handle bat over there.
Yeah, we've got this little one over here just to demonstrate the difference in the handle. You can see how it's slanted. It's not a circle, but it really fits in the palm of your hand and your little finger perfectly. You don't have that knob rubbing on the base of your hand right there where you get blisters. It really feels good. I got a bit of 250 hitter if I'd have had one of these.
Oh, that's going to drop in. Peralta will score. 2-0 Diamondbacks. Here comes Jake Lamb, and he's in there at second. A hustle bloke double for Lamb. Four D-back doubles tonight.
Jammed just a little bit by that slider. Got down near the trademark of the bat, which is probably a good thing. It just dies out there in left center field. Mccutchen a little deliberate in pursuing that ball, and Jake Lamb taking a cue from some of his teammates. Very aggressive in his turn at first base and his slide at second base. Gets in there with a double.
Do you think that stuff is contagious? Hustle?
Yeah, I think it can be. I mean, it has to be smart hustle. You can't just go out there and run crazy. I mean, it has to be one of those plays where you think you've got a chance to make it and you busted it out of the batter's box, so you give yourself an opportunity to get that double.
Well, Garrett Cole, 3 consecutive one-out base hits by the Diamondbacks after 3 straight reached in that second inning. This is not the Garrett Cole that Ray Searage, the pitching coach, has seen as of late. Already 6 hits for the Diamondbacks. 2 runs are in, second and third, 1 out for Chris Owings.
What you hope is contagious is smart base running. I love to see the hustle, and that's a great thing, but misguided hustle will run you into some bad outs on the bases, but smart base running with hustle, that's what everybody's looking for.
Peralta's doubled twice tonight.
6 hits in the game for the Diamondbacks, 4 of them doubles.
CO doubled and scored to lead off the second. Garrett Cole at 50 pitches, 30 for strikes. Paul Goldschmidt at third, Jake Lamb at second. A run is in, still just one out. Tap foul, and it's 1-1. Chris Owings has now hit safely in 7 of 8 games this month, really swinging a hot bat. He's had a pair of hits in each of his last 2 games. Already 1 for 1 tonight. Missed on a slider, a hard slider from Cole. It's 1-2.
We talked about Greinke having a lot of downward movement on his slider. Same thing for Garrett Cole. Starts it right in the middle.
Boy, you got a good look at the spin there. That dot that I always hear guys talk about.
I talk about it all the time. It's almost a spiral, like if you threw a football.
And that's what the hitter's looking at, right? Trying to pick up that spin.
Yeah, as the ball's coming at you. A lot of hitters say they look for the dot. That's how they can identify a slider.
Watch the spin on this Garrett Cole slider. Watch the seams of the baseball.
The way the seams come together as the ball is spinning, it looks like there's a dot. The hitter has the same view of the other side of the baseball, but yeah, it looks like there's a dot right in the middle of the front and back of the baseball. That's how you identify the slider. Doesn't make it any easier to hit.
2-2. Chris can check. Yes, he went, says Ed Hickox, and that's the first strikeout tonight for Garrett Cole. 2 down.
Just a steady diet of sliders that at bat for CO. Gets way out there in front, cannot hold up. Once again, that spiral-like rotation, moving the ball down and away from a right-handed hitter.
2 on and 2 down for Drury. An RBI single his first time up. Brandon now hitting .318. There's that slider again at 89. Steals the strike. It's 0-1. Brandon is an exceptionally patient hitter up there when he's facing right-hand pitching. He will look at pitch after pitch after pitch until he gets one he really likes. A little unusual for a young guy like this. Looks at another one there, but that time it's a fastball and he's down 0-2. Now this is what happens a lot of times when he's maybe a little too patient. Gets behind in the count quickly. And then waves at a curveball. Cervelli completes the strikeout. Garrett Cole strands 2, but the Diamondbacks get one more. Through 3, they lead it 2-0. Pair of doubles. He scored a run. D-backs lead it 2-0. Fans join the Arizona Diamondbacks Foundation and Fox Sports Arizona for the D-backs Give Back broadcast for charity. It's coming up Tuesday, May 16th. Will help raise awareness and funds for the D-backs Youth Jersey Program and Goldie's Fun for Kids. Fans will have an opportunity to donate and receive the ultimate D-back fan pack or a VIP D-back backpack with an autographed jersey. Coverage begins May 16th at 6 o'clock right here on Fox Sports Arizona. First pitch swinging, Josh Harrison. A little tapper to third for Lamb, one away. Only one Pirate base runner so far. Jordy Mercer, a leadoff walk in the third. He was thrown out trying to steal second.
Catcher, Cervelli.
Francisco Cervelli struck out in his first at bat. So our charity fundraising broadcast coming up on Tuesday. You can win the Ultimate Fan D-back pack or a VIP D-back pack. That includes an autographed jersey. It's a pretty good deal. So tune in for that May 16th at 6 o'clock right here on Fox Sports Arizona. And that's all to help raise awareness and some money for the D-backs Youth Jersey Program and Goldie's Fun for Kids.
Well, that's a smart first pitch strike right there by Zack Greinke. One pitch, one out to Josh Harrison. Francisco Cervelli, being a catcher, understands that they need to try to extend Zack Greinke after one pitch, one out. So he's probably going to be taking that first delivery, and Zack threw an 89-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle.
And he gets him out in front of a curveball, and it's 0-2. Greinke right at 50 pitches now, just over 30 strikes. Saw before the game, Bob, with Jeff Mathis and Zack Greinke sitting down on the grass in the outfield like a couple of kids at a picnic. And they were out there in left field just sitting on the grass facing each other, and they were talking, and you could see that they were having a conversation about what they wanted to throw tonight, how they wanted to work these two hitters. It was just a little bit of a get together, almost like around a campfire or something. But they seemed to be very much on the same page tonight. Greinke's got 6 strikeouts. Usually you see guys in the dugout and they're chit-chatting, and I'm sure they talk at the clubhouse and look at video and all that, but it was interesting to see them out there just sitting on the grass in the outfield going over things.
I'll tell you, you can learn an awful lot about a teammate, about a plan of attack against an opposing lineup by doing just that. You know, I've seen guys do it on the bus on their way to the ballpark, sit with the starting catcher that night, talk about the opposing hitters. A very relaxing way to go about it. But you think about it, Jeff Mathis coming over from the American League, he probably isn't familiar with a lot of these National League hitters, especially a team like the Pirates we only see a couple times a year. Zack Greinke has a rich history, I'm sure, against most of these Pirates hitters, so maybe Zack leading the tutorial out there in the outfield.
Well, he struck out 3 of the last 4 Pirates he's faced. Here's Andrew Mccutchen. Mccutchen flat out his first time up, 1-1. You used to pitch around Andrew Mccutchen. That is no longer the case. This is what we were talking about. This is just before the game today. Like a couple of Little League kids out there.
Oh boy, you just love to be a fly on the wall or on that glove right there, just listening to this conversation.
Wouldn't you? That's that hard changeup. Greinke likes his changeup. It's not for him about speed, as it is for most guys, or velocity differential. It's about movement. And his changeup will come in there 87, 88, just like that.
And usually has a lot of downward movement and some tail back into the right-handed hitter.
Called strike 3. Greinke through 4 innings, has not allowed a hit, and he has struck out 7. Zack Greinke's got it going again tonight. Diamondbacks have a 2-0 lead.
The lead, Zack Greinke, outstanding so far tonight. Jody Jackson with you. And Troy Lovello today was asked about the catcher's production from an offensive standpoint, but he said it was of minimal concern because, as you guys were just talking about, the combination of Jeff Mathis and Chris Iannetta with a number of these pitchers, and Mathis and Greinke in particular, has been terrific. The pitcher's ERA, of course, is down this season, and he says that is number one. He does feel, though, that there will be improvement. Over time, it will balance out, and these catchers' offensive averages will head north.
Here's Chris Iannetta in the middle there. Chris Herman on the right. And the third member of the catching trio, Jeff Mathis, on deck as Daniel Descalso, who walked his first time up, leads off the fourth against Garrett Cole. Boy, Zack Greinke just had a 10-pitch top of the fourth inning against the Pirates 1, 2, and 3 hitters and had 2 strikeouts. He has walked 1 tonight, struck out 7, yet to give up a base hit.
Hey fans, the day after every Diamondbacks win, get 50% off all pizzas at regular menu price using promo code DBACKS50 at papajohns.com.
Mentioned that Rockies Dodgers game earlier. Colorado beating up LA 10-3 in the 6th inning at Coors Field. Tyler Anderson was actually a late scratch in that ball game. The Rocky starter with knee inflammation. So Jeff Hoffman, who was just up for the minor league, started that game and getting all kinds of run support. 10-3 in the 6th inning. Rockies lead the Dodgers at Coors Field. Full count, 3-2. Jaso at first. 1 down. What do you make of the catching situation Jody was just talking about?
Well, it's quite the balancing act when you've got 3 guys to get involved in the mix, and of course Chris Herman being a left-handed bat helps that out a little bit. He's going to get the starts against some of those real tough right-handers, but hey, the bottom line for me is always, what do they do with the pitching staff? Can they get their starter deep enough into the ball game? Do they call the right pitches in the right situations? And so far, I think all 3 guys have done an outstanding job of that. You know, pitchers don't always execute the pitch that you call for in the location that you want it, but I think the game plan has been good for all 3 of those guys.
And Torrey did admit today that The catchers all know they're not having tremendous offensive moments, but they are doing enough to say, look, we're winning our share of games and our offense is going to come in time. There's a tapper in the hole. Mercer, the backhand throw from the outfield grass. And he throws out Mathis 2 down.
Pretty impressive play right there by Jordy Mercer. Even though he has a slow runner going down the line, that's a long throw with your momentum taking you away from your target. A one-hopper to Jaso. Nicely done.
2 down for Greinke. Zack grounded out his first time up.
Well, there was a time it seemed like Freddie Sanchez and what's his name with the Orioles now, J.J. Hardy. Seemed like they were going to play the middle infield forever for the Pirates. Freddie Sanchez was having really good
baseman,
really good offensive years at second base, and the two of them as a double play combo were among the league leaders every year in double plays turned at second base. But all good things must come to an end.
Freddie Sanchez won a batting title.
Yeah.
That's a hard swing from Greinke.
Boy.
Don't do that. That's how he injured himself last year, an oblique, and he was out 6 weeks.
Watch the reaction after the swing and a miss. Oh man, that can't feel good. He starts immediately cranking that back around. Still doesn't look real comfortable up there. Hopefully it won't affect him out on the mound.
Garrett Cole gets his 3rd strikeout. He's set down 5 in a row. Diamondbacks lead the Pirates 2-0. For Zack Greinke, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. It's 2-0 Diamondbacks as we start the 5th inning here at Chase Field. Hey, baseball fans, the 2017 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot is here. Head to dbacks.com/vote and choose your hashtag ASG worthy stars. Send them all to the All-Star Game. It's presented by MasterCard, July 11th at Marlins Park in Miami. Vote today, vote tomorrow, vote often. dbacks.com/vote. 2017 Esurance MLB All-Star Game. Hopefully Zack Greinke, no ill effects from that hard swing and a miss in that last at bat. Gregory Polanco will lead off the 5th. Greinke has faced the minimum through 4. 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. First pitch curveball in there to Polanco. It's 0-1. Polanco hit a comebacker right back to the mound his first time up that Greinke snagged. Here's a look at the defensive alignment. Goldie at first. Greinke covers. 1 down. 6 in a row set down by Zack Greinke. Sends the walk to Mercer to lead off the third.
First baseman John Jaso.
Here's the first baseman John Jaso, who struck out in his first at bat. You can see the defensive alignment against him. Chris Owings, the shortstop, out in short right field. Another first pitch curveball from Greinke. It's 1-0. Zack coming off a 14-pitch third that included the walk to Mercer. And then a 10-pitch fourth that included 2 strikeouts. He got Cervelli and Mccutchen. 1-1 on John Jaso. That's that hard Greinke changeup in there at 87. Doubled up on the changeup, but missed. 2 balls and 1 strike. Zack Greinke has gone at least 6 full innings in each of his last 4 starts. That includes one 8-inning start at San Diego. He went 7 in the win at Coors Field on Friday. There's a fastball, and it's 2-2.
Yeah, we had that great shot of Zack Greinke and Jeff Mathis talking it over in the outfield before the ball game today. Part of that conversation must have been throw John Jaso changeups. He's thrown 7 in the game. 5 of them have come to John Jaso.
Struck him out the first time. Here's the 2-2 the second time. Got him again. That time a slider. 8 strikeouts for Zack Greinke.
Left fielder Jose Osuna.
Boy, it's fun to watch a good major league pitcher when he's on top of his game. Had a great fortune of watching Greg Maddux for a couple of years. And when Zack Greinke's on top of his game, moving that ball in and out, up and down, everything moving, speeds just slightly different from pitch to pitch, just cannot square him up.
Greinke has struck out 5 of the last 7 Pirates he's faced. He's ahead of Jose Osuna. 0-1. He struck out his first time up. Osuna to start tonight in left field for Pittsburgh. There's a tapper to third, foul in front of Jake Lamb. And it's 0-2.
Take your time.
Jose Osuna in no rush to get back down the first base line.
He knows what's coming up. Strike 3.
Greinke has struck out 2 in each of the previous 2 innings. Can he make it 2 strikeouts in 3 straight? You bet. Zack Greinke has set down 8 in a row. He's got 9 strikeouts through 5. He's walked only 1, and he's yet to give up a base hit. Diamondbacks lead the Pirates 2-0.
Bottom half of the 5th inning. Hey, fans, spend time with Mom at Chase Field this Sunday. D-backs will take on these Pittsburgh Pirates for a 110 matchup. The first 10,000 moms will receive a D-backs clutch purse and PetSmart gift card. Get Mother's Day tickets now at dbacks.com.
Zack Greinke has faced the minimum through 5. He's got 9 strikeouts. Diamondbacks lead the Pirates 2-0, and A.J. Pollock, who's 0 for 2, leads off the bottom of the 5th against the big right-hander Gerrit Cole. A.J. has lined out hard to center, grounded out to third. D-backs have out-hit the Pirates 6-zip. Slider's in there for a strike, and it's 0-2.
We mentioned Gerrit Cole and his lack of run support from his offense. Occasionally that happens when you're the ace of a staff, because you find yourself matched up against other aces almost every time out.
That's certainly the case tonight. Greinke's pitching like one. Shortstop Mercer. 6 in a row retired by Cole. Now it's our cricket something to smile about moment. David Peralta Tuesday here against the Tigers. How about this catch against the wall off Miguel Cabrera, and then tonight this beauty off Mccutchen to win the top of the 1st. He's also, by the way, hit 2 doubles and scored a run tonight. Good night for the freight train, David Peralta. And check his swing there.
That was a good highlight package. Shows David going back on the ball to the barrier, making a nice catch up against the wall in right field, and then coming in tonight making a diving catch coming straight in toward the infield.
And he's also had different kind of hits. The first double in the 1st inning, high off the wall in center. The second one in the 3rd, he just went the other way, away from the shift and down the left field line.
And speaking of defense, that's something that hopefully will continue to improve for the Diamondbacks. They made 21 errors in the month of April, the 5th most in the major leagues, only 1 so far in the month of May. Well, we've seen some sparkling defensive plays all around the diamond lately. Brandon Drury last night made a couple of outstanding plays at second base.
Here's Mercer again at shortstop. 2 down. Hey, fans, add the D-backs pool towel to your summer collectibles on Saturday, June 10th. When the Brewers are in town, first 20,000 fans get the D-backs pool towel. It's courtesy of Gila River Casino. This is a full body, really soft towel. This isn't one of those little small hand towels. This is a big, good sized beach towel. Perfect for the pool this summer. Get tickets at dbacks.com. Goldie singled his last time up. .97 from Cole, and he's ahead 0-2. Gerrit Cole, a 1-2-3 4th, looking for a 1-2-3 5th. And he's got it. He set down 8 straight, 4 strikeouts. We are through 5. Diamondbacks lead the Pirates 2-0. Zack Greinke so far has walked 1, struck out 9. He's faced the minimum through 5. 6th inning coming up. Zack Greinke, the author of our Cox high-speed highlights. The Pirates against Greinke tonight have had only one base runner, a Jordy Mercer walk. He was thrown out attempting to steal second. Greinke has struck out 9. He's faced the minimum through 5, and he's set down the last 8 Pirates he's faced.
And once again, that slider's been a huge pitch for him today. 5 swinging strikeouts on sliders, 1 on a changeup, 2 on fastballs looking, and 1 Pirate hitter took a slider for strike 3.
Mercer, who walked to lead off the 3rd, leads off the 6th. First pitch swinging, pops it up third base side for Lamb. He's got it in fair territory. 9 straight set down by Greinke, 1 down in the 6th.
Man, the 3rd 1 pitch out in the ball game for Zack Greinke. Gotta love that.
Zack coming off a 14 pitch 3rd, a 10 pitch 4th, and a 10 pitch 5th. Gifton Gope, the second baseman. The strikeout victim his first time up. This is, as of this moment, the longest Zack Greinke has ever gone in a baseball game in the big leagues without giving up a hit. Deepest into the game he had ever gone with a no-no. 5 perfect innings in September of '04 against the Tigers. First batter in that 6th inning, Craig Monroe, singled. '70 pitches, 49 strikes. That's fouled off, and it's 1-2.
We talk all the time about Zack and his willingness to pitch to weak contact, and pitchers like that rarely have a no-hitter, let alone multiple no-hitters in their career, just because some of those balls are going to find holes occasionally and roll through for base hits. That's why I was so surprised when Mark Buehrle threw his no-hitter. Talk about a guy that pitches to contact.
What did Buehrle's no-hitter take? About an hour 10?
Yeah, something like that. Would have been faster if they let him work at his own pace.
Exactly. 2-2 on Gifton Gope. The pitcher Garrett Cole on deck. Got him. 10 strikeouts for Greinke through 5 2/3.
Pitcher Garrett Cole.
Slider up at the top of the zone, not the location he was looking for, but got a good result.
Diamondbacks have just set a major league record. 10 consecutive home games with at least 10 strikeouts. 0-1 on Garrett Cole. Greinke set down the first 6 he faced tonight and walked Mercer to lead off the 3rd. He was thrown out trying to steal second. Since the Mercer walk, he's retired 10 in a row. Garrett Cole, shallow right, long run for Peralta. Drury's over there, and he's got it. Zack Greinke, 6 innings, no Pirate hits. 2-0 Diamondbacks. Well, I thought you weren't supposed to talk to the pitcher in these situations.
Well, the catcher's allowed to talk to anybody he wants.
Oh, all right. Look at this. Zack Greinke pitches by inning. I mean, he labored a bit in that 21-pitch second when he got 2 strikeouts, but 14 in the third, 10 in the fourth, 10 in the fifth. Just had an 8-pitch sixth.
Wow. 3 1-pitch outs in the ball game, 2 2-pitch outs, and 2 3-pitch outs.
And he's got a 2-0 lead. He sent down the last 11 he's faced, and Jake Lamb will lead off the home half of the 6th against the Pirates' Garrett Cole. Hey fans, this Saturday join the Coyotes at Gila River Arena, the annual Select a Seat open house, 2:30 to 4. Fans can secure savings on 2017-18 season tickets. Take a tour of the locker room. You can play ball hockey, meet Howler and the Paw Patrol. For more info, ArizonaCoyotes.com, or give them a call, 480-563-PUCK.
Oh,
You're a big Howler.
I got my season tickets. I'm ready.
Jake Lamb has flied out. He's got an RBI double. But Cole has settled in lately. He's retired the last 8 he's faced since the Lamb double in the 3rd. At what point during this process does it start to get a little nerve-wracking in that dugout?
Right about now.
I had a feeling, that's why I asked.
I mean, you know, most ball players have been involved with the starting pitcher that's on top of his game early and mowing down the other team, and you look up and see, oh, they don't have any knocks yet. But yeah, usually you get past the 6th inning. That's when every out, everybody's really focused on what coming on the next pitch. Where's this guy likely to hit it? Should I move over a step to my right or a step to my left? And obviously everybody getting dirty for anything they get close to.
Fly ball left field. Osuna's there. 1 down in the 6th. Lamb 1 for 3. Here comes Chris Owings. I'm nervous. I don't mind telling you.
I've only been involved as a catcher with 2 no-hitters in my life.
Really?
One in high school, one in college.
Never in the big leagues.
I've never caught one, no.
You caught a lot of good pitchers, too.
Yeah. That just illustrates how hard it is.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, Greinke had never gone longer than 5 innings. Jordy Mercer, backhand stop at shortstop. Got a hurry to beat CO to the bag, and he throws him out. That's 10 straight, set down by Cole. Here comes Brandon Drury, our State Farm winning combo. Brandon Drury at home. 455 during what is now a 9-game home hitting streak. He had an RBI single in the 2nd.
Almost half of his hits during that streak have gone for extra bases.
Brandon hitting better than 440 for the season here at home, including both his home runs. Five of his last 6 hits have been extra base hits, 4 doubles and a homer. And check his swing on that Cole fastball, and it's 1-1. Garrett Cole's really mixing things up tonight. I told you about that changeup that he's throwing twice as often this year as he did last year, but we've seen both kinds of fastballs, changeup, curveball, slider. Francisco Cervelli behind the plate tonight. 1-2 to Chris Owings. Brandon Drury, pardon me. Here's a fly ball out to Pollock in right field. 3rd consecutive 1-2-3 inning for Garrett Cole. Zack Greinke through 6 has yet to give up a hit. 7th inning coming up. Our Chaz Roberts air conditioning and plumbing cool plays of the game. David Peralta, the freight train, with some defense in right field. And Zack Greinke on the mound. Diamondbacks have a 2-0 lead as we start the 7th. The Pirates have had only one base runner against Greinke. That was a Jordy Mercer walk to lead off the 3rd. He was thrown out trying to steal 2nd. Greinke has faced the minimum through 6. He's got 10 strikeouts. He's retired 11 straight since the Mercer walk. And here's Harrison, the leadoff man, who's 0 for 2. Zack Greinke coming off an 8-pitch 6th inning. There's the Greinke slider, a little slower than it's been recently. That slider, he's made an effort to throw it harder as of late. He's got great results with it. That one floated in there at 83.
Yeah, he's been between 83 and 86 with his slider in the ball game tonight.
In the air, right field. Peralta broke in, now sails back, and he's got it 1 down. Francisco Cervelli batting in the 2-hole tonight for Clint Hurdle. 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts. Greinke has walked 1, struck out 10. Cervelli hitting over 400 this month. He comes into tonight with a 6-game hitting streak. Had a home run last night in the Pirates' loss at Dodger Stadium. Fastball's in there, and it's 0-1. Cervelli, when he's out there, is always negotiating.
Yeah.
Something's always wrong. Oh, we got to solve this problem. I'm not happy.
Cervelli's one of those guys. I get the feeling he always knows which camera shot we're taking too.
Well, he can be a real nudge out there. He's animated, yells a lot, but Clint Hurdle loves that about him. He says baseball as a whole sometimes scares that out of players, not with Cervelli. Pirates like the way he's out there. They want him to live it, breathe it, feel it. This is a guy who buys in. Greinke behind 2 balls and 1 strike. There's the fastball, 2-2.
He so rarely throws a straight pitch. Fastball on the outer third of the plate might have caught Cervelli by surprise because it didn't do anything.
Zack Greinke has admitted that over the last few seasons his changeup was his big go-to pitch when he needed an out. But now he says it's the slider. Against lefty, he still might prefer the changeup, but it's been interesting to hear him say that his best pitch has kind of switched. He's relied on that changeup the last several years, but this year, especially the last few starts, that slider has been outstanding. There's the 2-2 to Francisco Cervelli. Got him. 11 strikeouts for Greinke. He set down 13 in a row.
Center fielder, Andrew Mccutchen.
Oh, man. His stuff is just electric tonight. This is another slider that almost goes straight down to the ground like a splitter. The 7th swinging strikeout at a slider.
Andrew Mccutchen. McCutchen has flied out, struck out 0 for 2. Hard fastball, 0-1. There's that hard changeup from Greinke. We've seen that tonight consistently. 87, 88, just about where he likes it. He's not interested in speed differential fastball to changeup. It's more about that movement with the change. There's the slider at 86. He threw that pitch a lot harder in the win in Colorado last Friday. It was breaking harder for him. Really than he's ever seen, he said. And he's admitted that slider's been as good as it's been in a long time for him.
Especially at Coors Field, where we know it's tough to get breaking balls to move the way you want them to. He had his best slider of the year at Coors.
That's a foul ball. Right in front of Joey Cora at third. There's Sam No Neck Noriega. A strike away from getting out of the seventh. Tom Woodring didn't bite.
Man, that's a good pitch.
Oh. All the umpires in here agree with us. Here it is, 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Fly ball center field. AJ Pollock at the track. He's got room. Zack Greinke. 7 innings, 11 strikeouts, no hits.
All right, fans, it's time for the
He pitches through 7 innings. He's yet to give up a hit. He's walked 1. He's got 11 strikeouts. What's next? Brought to you by CenturyLink. Game 2 tomorrow night of this 4-game set. The Diamondbacks and the Pirates. Tyler Glasnow on the mound for Pittsburgh against the left-hander Patrick Corbin. Diamondback Live pregame show at 6 o'clock on Fox Sports Arizona. Daniel Descalso leads off the bottom of the 7th against Garrett Cole, who, oh, by the way, has retired the last 11 he's faced. Diamondbacks lead it 2-0. Brandon Drury an RBI single in the 2nd. Jake Lamb an RBI double in the 3rd. Descalso down 0-2. Cole has given up 2 runs on 6 hits. He has walked 1 and struck out 3. Descalso lifts 1 pretty deep right center, but Mccutchen's there. That's 12 in a row set down by the Pirate right-hander. Jeff Mathis, the catcher. Jeff has twice grounded out, once into a double play. He's 0 for 2. Greinke is on deck, not in the on deck circle, and Jeff Mathis rolls one into left. A 1-out single. 7th hit for the Diamondbacks, and here's Greinke coming up.
Sinking fastball at 95. Mathis just rips it through that hole on the left side of the infield. Maybe that'll be the one to get him jump started. Let's hope so.
Big round of applause for the Diamondback pitcher, who has grounded out, struck out 0 for 2. Squares to bunt, gets it down. Cole picks it up. They move Mathis along, 2 outs.
It should come as no surprise whatsoever that part of Zack Greinke's game on the mound involves getting down the occasional sac bunt. He does so perfectly right here. Just deadens that ball out near the end of the bat. By the time Cole gets to it, his only play is at first base.
AT Pollock now. AJ tonight 0 for 3. Bullpen starts to get busy for the Pirates with Garrett Cole approaching 100 pitches. Pittsburgh in the 8th inning will have Gregory Polanco, John Jaso, and Jose Osuna due up 4, 5, and 6. Juan Nicasio, the right-hander. And Hurdle's offense has gone AWOL. Pirates came into tonight with a 4-game losing streak, just swept at Dodger Stadium. 6 under 500 for the year.
Dunk for everybody to pick the Cubs to win the National League Central this year, but I think the Pirates, at least in a lot of people's eyes, had high expectations this year, stumbling out of the gate this season, and especially not swinging the bats well. That will occasionally cost a hitting coach's job. Not suggesting that's the case, and I'm not saying that's what the Pirates should do, but if the past holds true, that's usually what they do, look for a scapegoat.
7 innings for Zack Greinke tonight. No hits allowed. Here's the 1-2 pitch to AJ Pollock. Mathis at second, 2 outs. Fouled straight back. Giants hosting the Reds tonight. They lead Cincinnati 2-1 in the 6th inning. Rockies lead the Dodgers 10-5. They're in the 8th at Coors. Padres lost at Texas 5-2. 100 pitches for Garrett Cole, 68 for strikes. This is something that Pirate fans have been following for several years now, the Cole-Cervelli relationship. We mentioned that earlier. Chris Stewart, the backup catcher, has worked so well with Garrett Cole over the years. But more and more lately, it's been Cervelli. Mathis at second, 2 outs. Fastball away at 97. Cole wanted it, didn't get it. Tom Woodring says 2-2. And Cervelli negotiating there.
Well, Cervelli just wants to distract the home plate umpire from his pitcher out there on the mound, who had a minor meltdown after not getting the call on that pitch that was just off the outside corner.
Seen worse.
Yeah.
AJ spits on a curveball, and it's a full count, 3-2. David Peralta, 2 doubles tonight on deck.
If there is such a thing as protection in the lineup, AJ Pollock should get a hittable fastball right here. David Peralta's banged one off the center field wall and shot another double down into the left field corner.
Here it is on 3-2. Got him. Into the slider and strikes out Pollock. So here we go. 8th inning. Zack Greinke has set down 14 in a row through 7. He's walked 1. He's got 11 strikeouts. He has not given up a base hit. Greinke has faced the minimum through 7. He's walked 1. That was Jordy Mercer to lead off the 3rd. He was thrown out trying to steal 2nd. Since then, Greinke has set down 14 straight. Tonight, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts. And Gregory Polanco will lead off the 8th inning for the Pirates. Gregor Blanco checks into the ball game in left field, replacing Daniel Descalso. Polanco so far 0 for 2. He has twice grounded out.
7-0-2 counts in the ball game for Zack. 4 1-2 counts, and 8 times he's retired a hitter on 3 pitches or fewer.
And he starts the 8th inning at 90 pitches, and there's ball 1. Zack Greinke's high for the season is 107 pitches. He's done that twice. High fly ball, right field corner. Foul. Wow. You said it. Polanco has been a real problem for the Diamondbacks over the years, and he almost ended the no-hitter and the shutout. Noonan. Deep breath time. One and one to Gregory Polanco. There's the Greinke slider.
Defensively, there's not much you can do except wave it foul. David Peralta out there in right field trying to push that one into foul territory. That's about all you can do when they hit him over the foul pole.
Checks his swing on that slider. Didn't go, says Jerry Meals at third. 2-2 on Gregory Polanco. John Jaso on deck. Jose Osuna after that. This one is hit hard again, right field corner, and that one is gone. Gregory Polanco leads off the 8th inning with a home run, his first of the year. Well, we've mentioned that Polanco has tortured the Diamondbacks over the years. 19 career games, 350 with 12 extra base hits, and just like that, it's 2-1.
A slider well off the plate inside. Polanco has just been jerk pulling everything down that right field line or foul in the ball game tonight. Unfortunately, kept that one fair.
Shift is on for John Jaso, who has struck out twice. So Polanco breaks up the no-hitter, first batter of the 8th inning. Jaso hits it into the shift. Chris Owings is there. That's a 6-3 putout for the outfield grass in right field. One more look at the Polanco homer to end the Greinke no-hit bid.
Pitch hitting for Jose Osuna, number 55.
Josh Bell will hit for Jose Osuna. Jorge De La Rosa, the left-hander, starts warming up in the Diamondback bullpen. And here comes Mccutchen. So Bell will hit for Osuna, the switch hitter. 236 and 5 homers.
As dominating as Zack has been tonight, it's still a one-run ball game. It's always touch and go for a manager. When do you get the bullpen up when your starting pitcher has a no-hitter going? We went through that with Randy down in Atlanta when he threw his perfect game. Many times once the guy gives up that first hit, it goes quickly. And you want to make sure you have somebody ready. So Mike Butcher with a trip to the mound to stall for some time and give De La Rosa an opportunity to get loose quickly.
There's only been one no-hitter in the history of this ballpark. That was the Cardinals' Jose Jimenez in June of 1999. D-backs still with only 2 no-hitters in their history. Randy Johnson's perfect game in 04. Edwin Jackson, that no-no in 2010 when he walked 8 and threw 149 pitches.
A no-hitter by Jimenez for the Cardinals was against Randy Johnson. That was a streak where Randy got no hit, 1 hit, 2 hit, and 3 hit in 4 consecutive starts.
Hang with him.
Talk about a lack of offensive support.
Well, he's fallen behind on Bell 2-0. De La Rosa sits down. Archie Bradley gets up. Archie warming up quickly down there with bullpen coach Mike Fetters. Rounder to first. Goldie's got it. 2 down.
It looked to me like Zack Greinke may have shaken to get to that slider to Polanco. Mathis had called a curveball. He goes to the slider instead, and why not? It's been a money pitch for him all night, and that pitch was a good 6 inches off the inside corner, but that time Polanco able to keep it fair.
Well, before Polanco, here's the only Pirate who had been a base runner tonight, the shortstop Jordy Mercer, who walked in the third. He was erased trying to steal second. Greinke had retired 14 in a row before the Polanco homer. One and two. It's hard to imagine, but Greinke, who was so dominant and dazzling in that start Friday at Coors Field, goes without saying even better tonight. 2-0 in his last 3 starts. Wins over the Padres and the Rockies. In those 3 starts, 27 strikeouts, only 2 walks. Tonight he's punched out 11 and walked only 1. Two and two. That's another slider from Greinke. Juan Nicasio's been warming up in the Pirate bullpen for a while now. Former Colorado Rocky. 2 and 2 on Jordy Mercer. Full count, missed with a curveball. Well, Greinke now about to match his season high for pitches, which is the 107. He's done it twice before. Gift and Gope on deck. Three balls, 2 strikes. Here it is. Lazy fly ball to center for A.J. Pollock. Well, he won't get a no-hitter tonight, but Zack Greinke was simply sensational.
Impressed you most from Zack Greinke tonight? Well, there's a lot of red on my tape or paper here. No hits. I mean, he was just absolutely outstanding, using both sides of the plate. All of his pitches just locating really well, keeping him just what he's done for the past four games and carried it in today. Same.
Well, we have lots of baseball to play, but as I get it back to Steve and Bob, I will say this, guys: the pitching fraternity is strong, it is loyal, it is deep, because my partner here was nervous. Send it back to you guys. Bring this one home. We'll break it down on Diamondbacks Live, the postgame show.
Well, Todd, he wasn't the only one, that's for sure. BB's fine. I've been a wreck up here. New pitcher for the Pirates is the former Rocky Juan Nicasio. Scored on just once in his last 10 appearances. A very good 1.93 ERA. And he'll work to David Peralta to lead off the bottom of the 8th inning. Peralta tonight 2 for 3. He's doubled twice and scored a run. Zack Greinke gave up the home run to Polanco to lead off the 8th, but he retired 17 of the last 18 he faced. Struck out 11 over 8 innings, gave up just 1 run on 1 hit. Josh Bell, the new first baseman, takes over for John Jaso. Jaso moves out to left, replacing Jose Osuna. Jordy Mercer at shortstop. David Peralta did not run that one out at all, and Mercer waited for him and made him run. That was a little unusual. They had a bit of a stare down there.
I think David slipped a little bit coming out of that left-handed batter's box. Hard ground ball right at the shortstop, and right there just kind of buckles as he tries to come out of the box. And you can see Francisco Cervelli holding up both arms, letting Jordy Mercer know you've got plenty of time right there.
Here's Goldie. Fernando Rodney is warming up in the Diamondback bullpen. Zack Greinke still in the dugout. Here's Rodney. Pirates will have Ngope, the pitcher spot, and Harrison due up 8, 9, and 1 in the Pittsburgh 9th. That's fouled away, and it's 0-2. Zack Greinke was dazzling tonight. Set down the first 6 he faced, then walked Mercer. He was thrown out trying to steal. Then retired the next 14 he faced before the Polanco homer. D-backs have out hit the Pirates 7-1. They lead it 2-1. Diamondbacks have left 5. Goldie looks at a fastball for strike 3. Jake Lamb 1 for 3. Jake has knocked in one of the 2 Diamondback runs of the ball game. RBI double in the 3rd. Fastball's in there for a strike, and it's 2-1. Jammed him, popped it up shallow right. Long run for Polanco, but he runs it down. So here we go. Zack Greinke, 1 hit in 8 innings. We'll head to the 9th. It's a 2-1 Diamondback lead. Zack Greinke put on a show here tonight against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He had a no-hitter into the 8th inning. He settles for 8 innings of 1 run, 1 hit ball. He walked 1, struck out 11, and retired 17 of the last 18 he faced. What a night for Greinke. Now he'll hand it over to the closer with a 2-1 lead in the 9th inning. It's Fernando Rodney. Rodney last worked Friday at Coors Field when Zack Greinke beat the Rockies 6-3. That was his 8th save of the year. Here he is, his 14th appearance. Our ash line call to the bullpen.
No drama, Fernando. Go right after him here. Bottom of the Pirates order up here in the top half of the 9th inning.
We're going to get a couple of pinch hitters out there for Clint Hurdle. And Gope, the second baseman, is due to lead off. Pitcher spot behind that, and then Harrison, the leadoff man. Fernando Rodney with a 2-1 lead as we start the 9th.
As good as Zack Greinke was tonight, you could make the argument, and it would be an argument, that he was better against the Rockies because of the ballpark and the lineup. That Rockies lineup, they can throw some hitters at you now. This Pirates team really struggling offensively, and he did what you're supposed to do against a struggling team.
Max Moroff will hit for Gift and Gope to lead off the 9th. Moroff only a handful of big league games on his resume last year and this year. This season he's 1 for 8 with 4 strikeouts. Pitcher spot is due up next. There's a pinch hitter in the on-deck circle. I think it might be Alan Hansen. And there it is, Alan Hansen. Switch hitter will bat for the pitcher, Nicasio. Rodney behind 2-0. Fernando Rodney last season, both with the Padres and the Marlins, faced the Pirates 4 times. Worked 4 innings, gave up only 1 hit. He was 4 for 4 to save opportunities. Fastball's in there, and it's 2-1.
In a 1-run game, this is definitely a guy you want to keep off the bases. As a high school player, he went 80 for 80 in stolen base attempts.
Tap to first. Goldie's got it. 1 down. Well, this next hitter is a player they like a lot. Diamondback fans in the Valley may remember Alan Hansen from the Fall League not too long ago.
Number 37, Alan Hansen.
6 for 36 this year, a 167 batting average. Alan Hansen.
Hansen, a versatile player. He's made 6 starts at second base. He's also had some appearances in right field, shortstop, and third base.
2 for 15 at the plate this month. Just under 30 games for the Pirates. Last year, that was his first look at the big leagues. Spent most of last year at AAA Indianapolis, hit 266 there. Leadoff man Josh Harrison is on deck. There's that split changeup from Rodney, and he's ahead 0-2. Todd Walsh and Brandon Webb standing by with the Greinke breakdown. Diamondbacks live postgame show brought to you by CenturyLink. Immediately following our ball game. What a night here at Chase Field. Went back to that changeup and missed. It's 1-2. Hard fastball fouled away. It stays a ball and 2 strikes. Harrison 0 for 3 will be next. waves at that Rodney changeup in the dirt. 2 down.
After a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, he follows it with an 83-mile-an-hour changeup. Turned it over a little bit. Really got some sinking action. And the swing and a miss from Hansen.
Josh Harrison, last man standing for the Pirates. 0 for 3. Crowd standing here at Chase. And Rodney close out a 2-1 win. Ball 1. Harrison coming off a 3-hit game last night at Dodger Stadium. Fouled away. Baxter's got him going down there. Change up 1-2.
Devastating combination of pitches. A high 90s fastball, a low 80s changeup.
One more like that. Let's get out of here.
Go with the fastball away.
Missed upstairs at 98. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Jeff Mathis behind the plate. Back to the changeup. Just does get a piece. Diamondbacks live post-game show follows our ball game. Webby standing by with Todd. Two and 2 to Josh Harrison. Fastball miss, count is full. Francisco Cervelli would be next. He's punched out 3 times tonight against Zack Greinke.
Power fastball down there below the bottom of the zone.
3-2 pitch. Just got a piece of that changeup. Just got a piece of that fastball. Back and forth we go. Which will it be? 9th pitch coming up. First of a 4-game series. dbacks.com/tickets. Diamondbacks and the Pittsburgh Pirates. He walked him. Tying runs aboard. Go ahead run comes to the plate. It's the catcher Francisco Cervelli. That's a good at bat there by Josh Harrison.
Pretty good battling at bat right there, fouling off some really tough pitches in those 2-strike counts, ultimately taking that base on balls.
Cervelli struck out all 3 times he faced Greinke. Torey Lovullo all year long has not had any debate. Fernando Rodney is our closer. End of discussion. Fastball down to Cervelli, and it's 0-1. Cervelli homered last night in their loss in LA. his 3rd of the year. A 6-game hit streak on the line with this at bat. Mentioned he's been plagued much of the year by that sore right foot that popped up in spring training and really has lingered through the first 6 weeks or so. Baxter's not happy. Here's the 0-1. Twenty pitches for Fernando Rodney, 12 for strikes. Hasn't worked since last Friday in Colorado. Rivero and Watson, a pair of left-handers, start to get loose in the Pirate bullpen. The 1-1 to Cervelli. They'll keep Harrison close.
Harrison 2 out of 4 this season in stolen base attempts.
And he takes off for second. Here's the throw from Mathis, and they got him! Jeff Mathis from his knees throws out Harrison. Hold the phone. Glenn Hurdle saying, let's check the video tape.
I don't think there's any reason you wouldn't challenge this.
Exactly. You got nothing to lose but the ball game. Hurdle trying to get that tying run into scoring position. Drury puts down the glove.
Ladies and gentlemen, the previous play is under official video replay.
Hard to see exactly where that mitten got in there on the left hand.
Look how he catches the ball with his glove moving down.
Oh, he's out.
Yeah, I think they got him. Yeah.
If they got him, the Diamondbacks win the ball game. It's been a night of drama here at Chase Field, so why not end this way?
Boy, that is a great play by not only Brandon Drury at second, but Jeff Mathis. That was a slow delivery to home plate. Mathis ended up throwing from his knees and put it right on the money.
Well, the crowd knows what they think. Jerry Meals, the crew chief, on the right there. Chris Conroy, second base umpire, on the left. As New York takes a look. If he's out, it's game over.
Watch Jeff Mathis behind the plate. A breaking ball. It was about a 1-6 delivery to home plate by Fernando Rodney, and Mathis put it right on the money to Brandon Drury.
New York, I'm sure, knowing what's at stake here, the ball game, taking their sweet time. The goal is to keep these to under 2 minutes. You've got to have clear and convincing evidence to overturn the out call. So unless you have a perfect angle that shows that he's safe beyond a doubt, D-back should have the win. That mitten, it's awful close.
Yeah, the tag comes down on the shoulder, and you see the oven mitt.
He's out.
Yeah, there you go.
Diamondbacks win it. Fernando Rodney gets the save. Zack Greinke, 8 innings of one-hit baseball with 11 strikeouts. And the D-backs beat the Pirates in the opener of this 4-game series, 2-1. Brandon Webb and Todd Walsh are standing by. Diamondbacks live post-game show will be coming up next. What a night here at Chase Field. Rodney saves it. Greinke wins it. 2-1 the final. Back with more right after this.